Geminites, welcome back to Gem Mint Collectibles. It's your boy Gem Mint, aka we done found the soul gem, aka Gem Jusco, aka Gem Lee. Anyway, I'm back with another CGC Spotlight video. I haven't done one of these in a while. It's always been my least viewed videos, but you know what? These are important videos. We're going to talk about the significance of these books. Without them, we wouldn't have these omnibus, these statues, or these comics that we have today. This time I'm going to take pictures and have them going across the screen like I did in my Absolute Preacher review. And we're going to look at GPA and discuss prices. So y'all stay tuned. Alright, the first book we're going to talk about is one of my personal favorites, X-Men #1. It's always historically been an undervalued book, and we say undervalued because compared to other Marvel Silver Age books from that time, like Amazing Fantasy 15 or Incredible Hulk #1, it's always been worth a lot less than those books. And I never really understood why. I guess because I was born in the 80s, and growing up in the 90s, X-Men were the shit, right? So I'm not sure if it had to do with the fact that the X-Men run didn't really sell that well in the 60s and in the Silver Age, or why they were so undervalued. Maybe because as a group, it's not as popular as a single character like Spiderman or Hulk, who both at one point in time were the face of Marvel Comics. Now, X-Men #1 came out in September of 1963. It was a Stan Lee story. Jack Kirby did the cover and the artwork. It's the first appearance of Professor X, Cyclops, Beast, Marvel Girl, who becomes Jean Grey, Angel, and Iceman. In addition to the entire team plus their mentor, it's also the first appearance of Magneto. This is a really good first appearance book, in my opinion, because it has all those characters right there on the front, except for Professor X. But when you have the villain and the whole team, whole squad on the front, it's a win-win scenario. You got Beast coming through on the flying trapeze, Angel's coming through with what some people think is a bazooka, what some people think is just a piece of the trapeze that Beast is swinging in on. Cyclops is blasting Magneto, and Iceman's throwing snowballs at him. I mean, that's not really going to do much, but... And then you got Magneto with a magnetized force field. So, very cool cover, and a great story, great introduction of a brand new team. This book is graded by CGC, which is the name and third-party comic book graders. So for those who don't know, they revitalized the entire comic book market. Before CGC and grading comics came around, the owner of the comics would tell you, hey, this is very fine, this is near mint, this is good, very good. And you'd have to be pretty savvy yourself on grading comics or just take their word for it. But unfortunately, in this world, one grade point difference or one condition difference is thousands of dollars. I use a site called GPA, which is Grade Point Analysis. It's a subscription-based site which costs about $11 a month, and it tracks every sale of every CGC book through multiple formats or multiple auction houses like eBay, Heritage Auction House, and I think they use Comic Connect and Comic Link as well. But the reason why I like GPA is because they show you the 2016 average, the 2017 average, the 12-month average, and the 90-day average. Plus, it breaks it down to the low sale and the high sale. So looking at a 6.0, which is a respectable grade for such an old key issue, we can see that the last sale was $9,880 April of this year. The average for the last 3 months, based on 3 sales, is $7,914, with a green arrow indicating it's up from the previous months or years. GPA will allow you to collapse the sales, so you can see the last 3 sales were $66.63, $7,200, and $98.80, all going up in value. And the main reason is because of the speculation that Disney is going to acquire the rights from Fox in order to get the X-Men in the MCU. We're seeing rises in all grades, and very similar with Fantastic Four #1 as well. GPA also shows you the certificate number, which is the number of the actual slab that got sold in question. Now, when I talk about differences in grades and thousands of dollars, the last sale in a 6.0 was just shy of $10,000. The last sale in a 7.0, which was this month, was $16,133. So from a 6.0 to a 7, you're jumping up. That's why the third-party grading became so important, because there's big money involved in those differences in condition. There are other grading companies. CBCS was started by one of the founders of CGC, and they're probably the second most recognizable name right now. Unfortunately, their slabs don't seem to sell for as much as CGC books, even though it's the same book in the same grade. And I think a lot has to do with them just being the newer guys to the game. I don't really deal with CBCS books for that reason, and I don't deal with PGX or any other kind of graded book because there's just a lot of shenanigans surrounding those companies' names. Anyway, so that's X-Men 1. Then we're going to look at another book that I think I've actually had this on one of the CGC spotlights. I've had an Amazing Spider-Man number 1 5.0 signature series. Two of them I've had. One of them had, I think, off-white to white pages, which is the one that I have in front of me, and I think the other one was just off-white pages. Page quality doesn't affect the grade, but some collectors will pay a premium for white pages, like this X-Men 1 has white pages. Some collectors won't deal with a book that has cream pages, light tan pages, or brittle pages. Especially brittle, because that means that the book is deteriorating. So X-Men 1 right now is hot. This is very much like the stock market. Amazing Spider-Man 1 started getting really hot because Amazing Fantasy 15 was getting hot due to Spider-Man joining the MCU. And because AF-15 is becoming unobtainable for a lot of collectors, ASM 1 started to go up. But now I'm finding it still has a lot of green arrows, but I'm just not seeing a lot of sales for ASM 1. It's still up overall. Now, sometimes when you have a book that's a little more unique, like for instance, this one's signed by Stan Lee, we had him sign it on the back so that it doesn't distract on the cover. And it's kind of a new thing that my man 4 Comics has been doing lately, and I think he pioneered it, actually. Him and my man Comic Books 22. Anyway, so with a 5.0, there's only been one sale in the last couple of years, and it was 2017. It sold for $9,000. So if you're looking to buy or sell, and there's only one sale, that's not really a lot of data to determine the book's value. If we look at a 5.0, there's been a 9,100 sale April of this year, an 8,900, an 8,500, still going up. So what's the difference with a signature? I mean, sometimes you can compare it to a little half a grade bump up higher. So if I look at a 5.5, you've got the last sale was $13,743, which is it had an $11,000 sale, a $10,000 sale, and prior to that a $14,000 sale. So it's a pretty big jump in 5.5 to 5.0. Not that it's necessarily worth that much more. It's just that these are not the type of books you could pick off a shelf. Sometimes somebody in the market is just going to grab whatever's available. But the high sale on a 5.5, 14 grand, that's kind of where I would try to sell one if I had one, just because, you know, if a 5.5 unsigned is going for up to 14 grand, my 5.0 signature series should be just as good. Anyway, Amazing Spider-Man 1, to me, is not as a grail of a book as X-Men 1. It's not his first appearance. You know, he already had a first appearance in Amazing Fantasy 15. He was on the cover. You had Jack Kirby do that cover, even though Steve Ditko did the interior art and Stan Lee did the writing. Amazing Spider-Man 1 has a Ditko cover and art with Stan Lee writing. It also has Fantastic Four on the cover. And Spider-Man tries to join the Fantastic Four to get paid in this first issue. He's trying to come up with his powers. The last book we're going to talk about is Daredevil 1, created by Stan Lee, Bill Everett art, with a Jack Kirby and Bill Everett cover. Came out in April of 1964. It was the first appearance of Daredevil, the blind lawyer, Matt Murdock, and his crew, Karen Page and Foggy Nelson. You could tell by this time Marvel knew they had something with all their new characters, and they even tried to pimp out Spider-Man on the cover to say, hey, you remember when you bought this? You're going to like this too. And they show Spider-Man on the cover and Fantastic Four. At this time, Daredevil still has his yellow outfit, and he doesn't get the red outfit till I think issue 7. Another cool character came out a year later than the big boom of Marvel creations, and the price reflects that. I would say that maybe he wasn't as captivating as the original characters like Spider-Man and Hulk and Fantastic Four and the X-Men. So, I mean, it sells for significantly less. A 5.0 last sale was $1,763, which brought that 90-day average up to $1,665. The book is around the $1,600 range for a 5.0. If you look at lower grades like a 4.0, it's around a $1,300 book. If you wanted to get a higher grade of 6.0, you're at about 2,000. So that's why having GPA is such a good tool for a buyer as well. So you can see the kind of difference between price points, so that you're not the guy driving that sale up and spending the most money on the same book. Daredevil has always been much more affordable than those other Silver Age first. We started to see a big bump in the book when the Netflix announcement came, and when the Netflix show was successful, we continue to see Green Arrows go up, and it's still a desirable book. So that's Daredevil 1. I do want to talk about these labels. As you can see, we have a blue label and a yellow label. The blue label means it's unrestored. Nothing has been done to the book. It's the original condition. Yellow means that CGC was actually there to witness that person signing the book. That's their signature series book. In this example on ASM 1, they were there when Stan Lee signed it, so they can confirm that. If you have an old book that Stan Lee signed and you send it in to get graded, if CGC wasn't there to vouch for you, they don't know if you drew it yourself. It's going to have a green qualified label, and instead of saying signed by Stan Lee on so-and-so date, it's going to say name written on the cover. They don't know who the hell's name it is. The other color label you can get is a purple restored label. There are many different levels of restoration, which go from amateur to professional. If there's a little bit of red faded out of the Daredevil name, and I colored it in with a marker, that's going to be amateur restoration. If half of the cover's missing, and my man Mike from Hero Restoration puts a facsimile behind it and makes it look like new, that's professional restoration. I stay away from restored books. They go for significantly less than unrestored, and they're just not as desirable to collectors. Some professional restoration is a little bit more accepted, especially like on a Golden Age book that's extremely rare and really tore up, and you want to preserve it. That's kind of when I think a restoration is worth it. But on a modern book or a common book, you're killing the book, and the grade and the value and all that. They do have a census on their website, cgccomics.com, which tell you how many copies of this book were graded in each grade. So let's take a real quick look at X-Men number 1. We can see that in a 6.0, there have been 119 unrestored copies graded. There's been 3 green label qualified, 22 signature series, and 26 restored books. So only 119 of this book and this grade exist. If we bounce on over to Amazing Spider-Man 1, you're looking at similar numbers. Amazing Spider-Man 1 in a 5.0, there are 165 unrestored copies graded, no green labels, 25 signature series, so this is one of 25, and I bet not too many of them are signed on the back, and there's been 61 restored copies. Daredevil 1 in a 5.0, people started to get the point by then and started preserving the books a little bit better. 259 copies that have been graded in a 5.0. 4 green labels, 42 signature series, and 33 restored. So I don't know if CBCS has a census yet. I know they didn't have one for when they first started and for a few years, and I don't know if they ended up implementing that, but it's a really good tool to determine the scarcity of a book. So anyway, that's the CGC Spotlight book. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Drop me a comment if you have a question or anything. If you're new to the channel, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more CGC Spotlight videos, for statue unboxing and reviews, hardcover, omnibus and absolute, collection videos, hauls, weekly poll lists, live shows, Comic-Con coverage, and all that good stuff, man. So thanks for watching. Y'all stay minty. Peace.
Gold Rush Productions.